2 years ago, people were talking about you being the first pick in the draft, right? And now we were just talking about, almost in a way, you're under the radar. Like, how do you process that?
The love for the game's what got me to the top. So I'm just gonna keep, following by my rules and just, believing in myself and just stay true to my character.
Before his injuries, he was really the top player in his class.
With the 20th pick in the 2017 NBA Draft, the Portland Trail Blazers select Harry Giles from Duke University.
Back in 2016, Harry Giles was the most sought-after prospect coming out of high school. He was ranked above NBA All-Stars like De'Aaron Fox, Bam Adebayo, and Jayson Tatum. But fast forward to the present day, things haven't quite panned out the way everyone thought. Giles was once seen as the most promising young talent in 2016 and was projected to be a top NBA draft pick, but unfortunately, he never came close to living up to his potential. So what went wrong for Harry Giles? Let's go back to where his story first began. Giles kicked off his high school career at Wesleyan Christian Academy in High Point, North Carolina, and put up some solid numbers. As a freshman, he was a key player in winning a state championship, averaging 12.5 points and 9.5 rebounds per game. He was also named the 2013 Max Preps Freshman of the Year and was the consensus best player in his class. But then injury struck, and he missed his entire sophomore year due to a left knee injury. After missing over a year of basketball, he made his return this summer just before his junior year and played for Chris Paul's AAU team, Team CP3. He also participated in the Under Armour Elite 24 game and won co-MVP of the game. Giles, coming off a strong summer, was ready to come back in his junior year and show everyone what they missed. He bounced back in his junior year and absolutely dominated. Some featured performances this season were a 38-point-19 rebound game in just his second game back, a 31-point-17 rebound game, and a 24-point-12 rebound game against a squad led by Jamal Murray. And over the whole season, he averaged 24 points, 12.5 rebounds, and 3 blocks per game. After his junior season, he racked up some recognition, including first-team All-USA honors by USA Today and first-team All-EYBL honors during the AAU season. Slam magazine even named him to its Summer All-American team. Giles proved in his junior year that he could come back strong after a serious knee injury and show the world why scouts saw him as an NBA talent. But in his senior year, things took a turn for the worst. Giles decided to transfer to high school powerhouse Oak Hill Academy, but ended up tearing his ACL during his first scrimmage game with the team. After suffering a left knee injury in his sophomore year, Giles' ACL tear this time around was in his right knee. That was a major setback for Giles right before heading off to college. But despite the injury, he still committed to Duke University in November of 2015. And despite the setbacks, Giles was still rated as a 5-star recruit and the #1 ranked player in his class according to ESPN. Despite having 2 serious knee injuries heading into college, scouts still believed Giles had the potential to be great when healthy and were hopeful to see him thrive at Duke and not face any major injury setbacks. But then, just before things even got rolling at Duke, it was announced he needed surgery on his knee and had to miss the first 6 weeks of the season. And when he finally did hit the court for Duke, it was on a minutes restriction. He only logged 4 minutes in his debut game. That's barely enough time to break a sweat. His numbers took a hit too. He averaged just 4 points and 4 rebounds per game in 26 appearances for the Blue Devils. Nowhere near the dominance he showed in high school. At the end of the season, Giles decided to cut his college career short and declare for the NBA draft, ending his Duke tenure after just 1 year. But now the real question is, will an NBA team want to take a chance on Giles? It wasn't too long ago that there was an insane buzz around Giles. Many saw him as a potential franchise cornerstone, a player to build a team around. But as an NBA GM, how confident could you really be in a guy with this kind of injury history? And when draft night rolled around, teams seemed hesitant. He fell out of the lottery and would remain on the board for a little while longer. But then the Portland Trail Blazers swooped in to draft Giles with the 20th overall pick, but then was later traded to the Sacramento Kings in a draft day trade. It looked like a fresh start for Giles. Sacramento saw past the injury history and wanted to take a chance on the upside on him if healthy. And going to a team like Sacramento could benefit Giles, as Sacramento is a smaller market where the pressure to perform right away wasn't as intense. But remember, Giles' injury history was brutal. Those knee surgeries took their toll, and his numbers suffered as a result. Despite the talent shown over the years, it scared off some scouts who saw him as too much of a risk compared to other prospects like Jayson Tatum, Lonzo Ball, or Markelle Fultz. But let's not sit here and pretend like the Markelle Fultz or Lonzo Ball picks were great either, especially with Lonzo not playing basketball in about 3 years now, and Markelle Fultz being one of the biggest first overall busts of the decade. But at least Lonzo started out healthy and showed some promise at one point in time, and Fultz made a comeback in Orlando. But despite the setbacks, Giles' talent was undeniable, an athletic 6'10" forward weighing over 200 pounds. He at one point drew comparisons to Kevin Durant coming out of high school. He was even called a program-changing player with sky-high potential. It was a gamble, but if Giles could stay healthy, he could be a game changer, the kind of player who can turn a team's fortunes around. And the Kings didn't waste any time locking him in, signing him to a 4-year rookie contract worth over $10 million. But his injury history would continue, as he missed the entire 2017 season and did not make his NBA debut until October 2018. Even though he was drafted in 2017, injuries kept him sidelined until the 2018-2019 season, but finally, he was healthy and ready to show what he's made of. At the start, it wasn't all smooth sailing. Giles had some struggles, too many fouls, too many turnovers, but as the season went on, he found his groove. Fans started seeing flashes of the potential that had everyone buzzing about him. One standout moment was on November 12th against the Spurs, when he dropped 12 points and grabbed 6 rebounds in just 15 minutes. By the end of his rookie season, Giles had put up some numbers, averaging 7 points, 4 rebounds, and 1.5 assists per game while shooting 50% from the field. Not too shabby for a guy making his NBA debut after a long road to recovery. His rookie numbers were subpar, but his opportunity was expected to ramp up the following season if he can stay healthy for a substantial period of time. He had potential, no doubt about it, but there's always a nagging issue with injuries. I mean, he's had some serious knee troubles since high school. ACL, MCL, meniscus, you name it. That's tough for any player to bounce back from. Looking at things he struggled with, he tended to get a bit too emotional on the court, which often landed him in foul trouble. But let's be real, the big question mark hanging over Giles was always his health. So the Kings made a tough call, declining Giles' option for the 2020-2021 season. Now, could he have been a game changer for the Kings? At this point in his career, probably not. He had a knack for finding the open man in the high post, which is always handy. But yeah, he did tend to rack up fouls, and he made his fair share of mistakes. Sometimes he'd fade into the background, and other times he'd step up even for a little bit. That type of mixed consistency isn't what's going to get you a consistent role on an NBA roster. So after on and off stints with the Kings and the G League since he was drafted in 2017, he eventually signed with the Trail Blazers in November of 2020, and there was still some hope for Giles to get back on track as he was still just 22 years old. So how did he look in the regular season? Well, he was getting a bit more playing time during the start of 2021, which was good to see, but his stats weren't exactly eye-popping. I mean, he only averaged close to 3 points and 4 rebounds per game. He had just one double-digit scoring game all season, and his shooting percentages were poor. He was making around 43% of his total shots and 35% from beyond the arc, with a true shooting percentage of just over 45%, which was a dip from his last season in Sacramento. Most of his shots were coming from close range, within 10 feet of the rim, but he was not hitting them at the same rate as before. His rim finishing dropped from 75% to just 54%. So looking beyond the constant injuries, Giles knew he had some work to do to improve his offensive game, especially around the rim if he wanted to carve out a key role on an NBA roster. Now, one thing that's always stood out about Giles is his passing game. For a big guy, he showed flashes. Coach Terry Stotts even praised him for it in Portland, especially after he had to step up after Yusuf Nurkic's injury. But hey, he was not exactly turning into Jokic, and his assist percentage was actually the lowest of his career so far. But he still showed flashes of that solid passing ability. Now, going back to fouling, which has always been a bit of an issue for Giles, I mean, in his first 2 seasons, he was averaging around 6.5 fouls per 36 minutes, and it went down a bit to 5.9 in Portland, but that is still very poor. It seemed like a part of his strategy to cut down on fouls could have been to avoid a potential injury when coming into heavy contact around the rim. With these concerns on the court, it became tougher for Giles to carve out consistent minutes. He started 0 games for the Trailblazers, and let's be real, the guys ahead of him were just better. Enes Kanter, for example, might not have been the best defender, but he was a lot more consistent as a rebounder and rim defender. And Giles? Well, he was struggling to make his mark, especially in that role. So after some back and forth, Giles later signed with the Clippers in September 2021, but unfortunately, he was waived just a few weeks later. He quickly bounced back and signed with the Clippers G League affiliate in October 2021. But then bad luck struck again, as he suffered a season-ending injury in January 2022, leading to his release. But the most interesting part about all of this was what was next for Harry Giles, because it feels like at this point, Giles' body could not handle basketball anymore. So, in an unexpected move, he took a hiatus from basketball in the 2022-2023 season and opened and operated a trucking company. It was an inspiring move from a young man who was riddled with injuries for years and knew that he can make a difference in this world beyond basketball. After his season off from basketball, Giles was inspired and ready to give the NBA another shot. Therefore, in August 2023, the Golden State Warriors gave Giles a shot with the free agent workout. And guess what? In September, he actually signed with the Brooklyn Nets, so teams were still looking to give him a shot. There was hope that this could be a fresh start for him, but it just wasn't meant to be. The Nets waived him in February 2024 after appearing in just 16 games and struggling to secure a spot in the rotation under head coach Jacques Vaughn. The Nets took a chance on him in the 2023-2024 season, hoping he could find his stride. Unfortunately, it just didn't pan out, and now Giles found himself at a crossroads, looking for his next opportunity, whether it's in the NBA, G League, or overseas. And just out of the blue, he recently found a new home with the Los Angeles Lakers, signing a 2-way contract back in early March of this season. The Lakers saw something in him, enough to offer him a chance to prove himself on a 2-way deal. Since joining the Lakers, Giles has seen limited action, playing in just 6 games. In those short stints, he's grabbed 0.3 boards per game across 3 minutes of play. Yeah, not exactly eye-popping numbers. This deal is a short-term one, meaning Giles will have the opportunity to become a restricted free agent in the offseason. It'll give him the flexibility to explore what his future may hold, whether it's another stint in the NBA, overseas, or retiring and going back to his trucking business. At 25 years old, not many players have had a crazier stint in the NBA than Giles. In a 7-year career, he has only managed to play in 164 total games, which is the exact equivalent of 2 full seasons. That stint included 4 NBA teams, G League stints, and a year off from basketball. It has certainly been a tough road for Giles. Once hailed as a top high school player, injuries have certainly plagued his entire career. So is Harry Giles really that bad per se? No, he was a highly touted player who could never get past a significant amount of injuries in his young career. But what do you make of Harry Giles' strange NBA journey? Could Harry Giles have been an NBA star if he never suffered so many setbacks? Let us know in the comments below.